this is the GameSir Nova 2 Lite, the eagerly anticipated update to the Nova Lite, which is an incredible $25, £25 controller. Now this is obviously the 2 Lite, so we expect it to be much better. Now I'm going to tell you straight up, it's a $5 increase in price or a £5 UK increase in price. So not that much of a step up, and you're getting a lot here extra. So what is different from the Nova Lite to the Nova 2 Lite? We now have a mechanical D-pad. We've got Hall effect linear triggers because the previous one didn't. We've got trigger locks, so that it's actually got like hard stoppers now, whereas the previous one didn't. We've got upgraded Hall effect joysticks. So we still had Hall effect joysticks in the previous one, but we've got better ones now. We've now got anti-friction rings around the stems, you know, of the actual sticks. We've got 2 programmable back paddle buttons. We've got 1000 Hertz via the 2.4 gigahertz dongle, previously only available wired. We also have charging dock support now, but that is an extra purchase of another $11.99 UK or $15. And we've got support for the PC app instead of just the phone app. And it is a multi-platform controller, so that's PC, Android, iOS, Switch 1, and yes, it does work with the Switch 2 as well. I've tested it with the Switch 2 and it does work. And what I really like is it still comes in a case. I just love this, because if you're throwing your controller around as a multi-platform controller, if you're using this for multiple things, you might be taking this out and about with you. And I just love the fact that it comes with an actual hard case. GameSir really know how to make controllers. So let's open this up and see what we get inside. So it's a form-fitted case. We do get the 2.4 gigahertz dongle inside the case, and it does have a sync button as well if it ever falls out of sync or whatever. And now we have the actual controller itself. Now, I really like this two-tone. So you got like a two-tone look to it, whereas previously they were all just like the same color. But this is the look of it. You can see we've got anti-friction rings around here. Now there's still a little bit grindy. There's no anti-friction like metal around the stem. But what I'm feeling is actually what I believe is the bottom of the dome sort of hitting the square corners of the module. Wow. Thank you, seagulls. Now I've got a circular D-pad as well. So there's one thing I didn't mention, but it is mechanical. And yes, it does input. If you hold down and rock left or right, you can get it to input there. It's not a 4-way. You can't lock it as a 4-way. It is just an 8-way D-pad. But I actually really like the domed D-pads now. I don't know why. I just find them quite nice to roll around instead of just like a standard one. This has got a huge convex, you know, so it's, oh, sorry, concave. It is concave, not convex. Can you imagine that? A D-pad that like bubbles out. That'd be weird. But yeah, so massive concave on this one, but it does feel nice, even though it's mechanical. We've got membrane face buttons, but they are really tight. The only thing I've noticed is they don't really follow the curvature of the controller. They are sort of kind of just level. I do quite like it when they follow the curvature, so that when you move your thumb, they kind of go down and around, but they are just kind of flat. But in terms of membrane, there is no pre-travel, a tiny bit of post-travel, but I'm being nitpicky here. They are very nice membrane buttons. We've got like a macro, like, you know, button there, which is for some extra features that we'll go over later. We've got our home button, which is the GameSir thing. We've got select, start, whatever they're called these days, and your like screenshot-y button. You've got mechanical bumpers, but they're the only mechanical things here other than the actual D-pad, right? But still really nice. They are a little bit smushy, you know, like there's a tiny bit of pre-travel, like really small amount, and a fair bit of post-travel. But again, when you're actually using them, that's absolutely fine. And I do prefer a little bit of pre-travel, because when you're resting your fingers, you don't want to be accidentally pressing them just because they're so sensitive. So it's kind of a plus. You've got your analog, Hall effect analog triggers just here. So yeah, feel really nice. You've got the little switch. Ka-ching. I like that they're orange, by the way. And then that hard stops it. It does not turn it into a mechanical switch. It just hard stops it like that. But there is a bit of a weird thing that happens with these. So when I was testing these in the gamepad tester on the PC, I noticed when you switch over to the hard stop mode, it still inputs as an analog trigger for like 5 plus inputs, and then it switches over and goes, oh wait, you want like immediate, right? So now we're going to go from 0 to 100% because you want a digital trigger, because that's what you're trying to achieve here, is going from an analog input to an instant digital trigger as if you're pressing a button, right? But I don't really know what's going on with it. It seems to take multiple presses before it then registers that you've done the switch, and then you actually want it to go from 0 to 100. So it kind of goes up to about 0 to 11 gradually, as if you were doing the like analog input, but just like 11%. Does that for ages, and then it switches over to like 100%. It's a bit weird. In the actual manual for this controller, it says like press the button 3 times for it to like register. But it's way more than 3 times. Like 3 times does not do it for me. I've done it so many times that it takes, you just have to spam it a load and then it switches over. I mean, if you're leaving them in like digital mode, like with the hard stops, you know, just press them a bunch of times first and then that will like sort it out. But it's just a bit of an oversight in my opinion. I feel like that should have been just a bit more like finished, you know, like I want to switch that over and have it immediately at 100%, not like capping out at 11. Like it's just a bit strange for me. But you can software mod them to be hair triggers by pressing M and holding down the trigger, and then that will switch it over to 0 to 100 even when you're pressing the analog. So I've been doing that and then putting the hard stop on, right? And that's been great. That's been like instantaneous every time, but it is a bit of a weird workaround. And it's just the only weird thing that happens with this controller. I'm not too sure why. Now flipping it over, then we've got the back paddles. Now, I'm a bit mixed opinion on these. They input fine. They're not like overly mushy or anything, but I know a lot of people don't like back paddles. And I'm kind of liking the design where you can like lock them out and it just like forces them flush against the controller and then just like stops them from being pressed. Now I get that that's probably a more expensive feature, and this is a super budget controller, really. $30 controller. This is like very, very spec'd out for that. But some people just don't like back paddles, and I get it, you know, I get it. And yeah, it's okay. They're fine in use. I don't have any issue with these whatsoever, but I just feel like some people would prefer them being locked out. But there we go. You know, on the GameSir Lite, there was no back paddles, no stoppers or anything like that. So this is all additional. And I do think for an extra $5, you're getting a lot here. Now you can see the contacts just there for the additional purchased dock. Like I said, I think that's $15 or £12 here in the UK. And it's the same dock for the other like Nova series, the recent ones that we've reviewed and stuff. So if you've already got one of those controllers, you can use the same dock for this one. But yeah, the actual design of it and everything, really nice. They've laser etched some like grips into the plastic, so they're not rubber or anything like that. The fit and finish and everything is really good. There's no like major rattle or anything from this controller. It is really well built. Like that does not feel like a $30 controller, but it is, you know. The only thing is it's a little bit thick. So I wanted to test the dongle to see if we really were getting 1,000 hertz polling rate, right? Because that's what they advertise now on the Lite, and I was like, well, let's check it out. So with my testing, we got 93.9, so let's just say 94% stability, which is actually really, really good. So it's meant to be 1,000 hertz, but it's coming in at 938.97 hertz, which is extremely high accuracy for that. I think that's very, very good. And I would say, yes, it is coming in at 1,000 hertz via the dongle. Now, some extra features that I really like about this, I wanted to test those Hall effect sticks, right? And they come in lovely. Like they're super accurate. There is a minor dead zone, inner dead zone applied out of the box, right? Which most things do just to stop you from overshooting and to stop any drift. Even though it's got Hall effect, there is still a chance of drift, but besides the point, it has an outer dead zone and an inner dead zone. However, there is raw mode, and so you can enable raw mode. They call it no dead zone mode, but it's actually raw mode. You press and hold M and hold the stick down for a few seconds. It will rumble, and then it will enable no dead zone / raw mode, which removes the inner dead zone as well as the outer dead zone. So instead of it giving you a circular gate to like around the gate, you now have true diagonals, so that it overshoots on the diagonals. That's the true input of a joystick module. It's not actually a circle, it is a square. This helps for like retro games, or if you want more accuracy in shooters and stuff like that, this is the way you want to go. I'm really glad they included that on such a budget controller with just the press of a macro button and the stick down. Really, really cool. There's no cardinal snapping on these sticks or anything like that. It's a very very accurate joystick module. Really, really like it. And of course, there's a bunch of different ways that you can enable this controller to pair via Bluetooth for Android, iOS, Switch, and all that good stuff. Now, I followed their manual and it still wasn't pairing with the Switch 2. And initially I thought, you know what, maybe it just doesn't work with Switch 2. It doesn't say it does. It just says it works with Switch. So I was like, what a shame. Until I realized if you're in a pairing mode that the manual says, so the Switch mode, for example, and it's not actually pairing, what you need to do is hold down the GameSir button and the screenshot button for a few seconds, and then that like force pairs it. So it forces the controller into pairing mode where it will like flash loads, and then it will then assign to the Switch 2. Now, no, it does not wake from sleep. Nothing does other than the official Switch 2 controllers, but using this on the Switch is great. Like really, really good. Even though it's only Bluetooth input, right? It was great. I did try the dongle stuck into the top of the Switch. It didn't work, but there we go. And just using this controller, it is fantastic. Like, I love GameSir for their budget controllers as well as their higher end controllers. I really think they might be my favorite controller company, because when they very first started sending us stuff to check out, I just kind of was like, meh, you know, more like cheap controllers. It's probably going to be rubbish. I was so wrong. Like, every GameSir controller has been knocked out of the park, other than the tarantula one. I'm sorry, GameSir, I really didn't like that one that much. But whatever. These are fantastic. The Nova 2 Lite is a brilliant controller. Is it worth $5 to upgrade versus the Lite? Absolutely. Yes, it is. It's like £5 difference. You know, it's a £5 difference. It is a fantastic controller. £30 controller, $30 controller. This is a one and done controller. Like, long gone are the days where you buy a $30, £30 controller and that's the rubbish controller that you own. Now this could be your main controller. Like, it's that good of a feature set that this could be your one and done controller. If you're on a budget, or if you just want to save money or whatever else, these controllers are fantastic. The only negative that I've got is that weird like input thing when you switch it over to the, like, you know, the stopper. I just don't know why it doesn't immediately switch to a digital input. Like, it takes several like presses before it registers, but maybe they can fix that with a firmware update. Yes, there is the GameSir app, the GameSir Nexus app as well on PC. I'm not showing that here because the app is so in detail and I've covered it on every other GameSir controller. You just go watch a review of another controller on the channel if you want to see in-depth look at that app. But this is a fantastic controller. GameSir have done it again. The GameSir Nova 2 Lite is an absolute winner. If you're looking for a decent controller, then check it out. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about the controller down in the comments. Once you're down there, like this video, subscribe, become a member, and you can talk to myself and AJ over on our private Discord. And yes, watch another video from us or something. I don't know. Bye.